You're awesome. This is exactly it. Oh, sorry, guys.
So we started before pandemic with the idea, and we met with Melissa and worked for a few months together on a business plan and what we envisioned. And
so let me interrupt you there for 1 second. Pre-pandemic, because I actually went back and looked at the timeline, because I think the timeline's important. We started talking in the end of October, early November, before Thanksgiving of 2019. So pandemic was March 2020. So we're talking months before this. Go ahead.
So we started planning, and I was in a place in my life where I was working for a family member who has her own retail store and in the area. And I was kind of in a place in my life of like wanting a change and not really sure what that was, and kind of asking the universe to guide me in that, because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I was a performer in New York City for 15 years. I had a back situation where I had to have major surgery and wasn't able to do that anymore, and didn't know what was next. And then the universe sort of put this in front of me. In fact, Paul's wife is one of the reasons I did this. I had 3 people in the span of like less than 2 weeks be like, have you ever thought of opening a store? You'd be great. And I'm like, that is so weird, because it was so random. We weren't even talking about it. And Paul's wife was the third one, the straw that broke the camel's back, that made me go, okay, I should listen to this. So, and at the time I was working for my cousin, who owns her store. And we met with Melissa. We started working on a business plan. We started looking at different brands and products we would want to carry. We found a space that we were pretty dead set on. I mean, no, we were really dead set on the space. And then the pandemic happened. Like, we were ready to sign on the dotted line for renting the space. And
you got your loan. You were approved with your loan before, right? Like,
we were approved, but I don't think we signed off on it or anything.
No, but you got the approval letter, and it was like 3 weeks before the shutdown, and you were like a little like, okay, I gotta like, I'm not sure I want to sign this yet. Let's talk a little bit more. I mean, how do I really know I'm ready?
Right.
You've gone from being an employee to now you're going to be the owner. Am I really ready? And I remember that conversation and saying like, come on, Travis, just sign the papers. You got the money, just sign the papers. Right. And you're like, wait, I'm not sure. So that's a huge thing right there, because that's a leap of.
Well, and there was a lot of things that and I don't remember if this was in that initial period or if this was when we started back up again, but there was a lot of things in place, like the type of loan I had, I was able to pay back with no penalty. Like I don't know what that's called. I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm not much of a
there was no penalty payment if she paid it back early.
Free penalty.
Yeah, so I knew if I took this loan out, but we didn't end up using it, or we only used a little bit to get started, then we changed our mind, we could pay it all back with itself and not have any penalty. There was a retail platform we were using to purchase from different brands. It's kind of like it's called Fair, and it's kind of like the Amazon of where small business owners would go to purchase their products. That's not where we get everything, but it was a big bulk of it. And they had a program we got approved for where we could return items within 60 days if they didn't sell. So there was a lot of things we researched and found that made me feel more comfortable eventually
that was through the pandemic months though, because that wasn't before.
Okay.
Because I remember that those things changed. So to back up for a second, one of the reasons the pandemic hit, you hadn't signed the loan yet, and you were like, wait a minute. And remember you were saying too, there's that store that you were pretty set on, like dead set on going into. That actually isn't where you are, that storefront. You ended up finding a different storefront.
Right, so we put the brakes on everything when the pandemic hit. And I continued working for my cousin in the area, and that space ended up getting rented. And that kind of, for a quick minute, our knee-jerk reaction was like, well, that's it, we're not doing it. I was a little more open to being like, there might be another space, we should really think about this. And lo and behold, another space was available. We looked at it and we're like, okay, this works. Now, at the time, we still felt disappointed, but this space actually now, looking back, I'm like, oh, thank God this is the space and not the other space. For a lot of different reasons. I wouldn't say it's small, but it's much smaller than the original space. And knowing now, having a better understanding of what it took financially and resource-wise to stock the shelves and get inventory, it made it much easier for us to start with this space. So that was such a blessing.
And that timeline too. So now we're in March of 2020, everything's on hold. We get through the summer, you're working at your cousin's store more. So I remember in the beginning, when you first started this, you were dabbling working at your cousin's store here and there. I don't remember you really working in it.
No, I just kind of picked up when she needed help. Yeah.
Then during the pandemic, you really jumped in because she needed the help. So his cousin's store was an essential store because they also sell food, and they were selling cleaning supplies.
Again, and produce and stuff.
Sort of a general store.
Yeah.
I would consider them more a general store than a department store.
Yeah.
So that was something you learned too. You're like, okay, I got to be essential. What can I sell going forward that's going to be essential? So if we ever go into lockdown again, I'm able to stay up and going. So that was a thing you learned. But also during that time, like, you started picking up more hours and becoming more involved in her business.
Yeah, I actually became like a manager person for her, a management role, and really learned about what was making her successful.
Yes.
And what the audience for her store was, and who was coming in on a weekly and a daily basis, and why were they coming in, and what were they purchasing, and seeing what her margins were like, and things that were loss leaders, and things that were making her a significant profit. So that was super beneficial as well.
Yes. So then fast forward about another 6 months, because then I think you and I started talking again about the same time, Thanksgiving-ish, around 2020. Christmas 2020 was when you were like, this is it. We're going to do it. We're ready. Now that's a year and a half, and almost, not a year and a half, a year and 3 months. I mean, you really went back, and it was a blessing in disguise, because now my question for you is this: if you had started your business in February of 2020, before the shutdown, forget the shutdown happened, pretend it didn't happen, and you had started it in 2020 of February versus 2021 of April, right? That's when we finally opened the doors, or March?
April.
So, April. So a year difference. Do you think you would be as successful as you are now if you hadn't gone through that extra year of research and time?
I think I definitely benefited from that time. And I think I'm more successful from having had that time. Because I was able to do extra research and spend a lot of time, almost in a daydream type way, looking at different brands and looking at different products and what's quality, and what are the margins like for us, but what do I think the price point should be overall for our customer. And again, working with my family and them being in the area, knowing what the customer, who the customer is, seeing where I think there was a hole that I could kind of fill in our community, because I definitely wanted to take the success that my cousin has and emulate that, but do it in my way. I didn't want to take away from what she was doing in our community. I wanted to add to it.
Compliment.
Totally compliment it. So all that time was, I'm so thankful I had that time. It was frustrating going through it, but I'm so thankful to have had that extra time that kind of forced me to look at things in a new perspective and a little more thoroughly. Because I think when you're like, okay, I'm going to do this business, I want to get it open as soon as possible.
Yes.
You may not be thinking of all of the things you should be thinking about. And there's tons of different layers to owning your own business that I think sometimes we don't think about until we're in it. Getting an employee and what it means to have an employee, like financially, like for us to have an employee costs X amount of dollars, with insurance and payroll and all that. And so for us, we're like, well, we can't really afford an employee unless we have more than one. So now it's like finding those employees and finding out who works. And there's just a ton of different levels and layers to owning the business that I was able to discover in that year, but also since we've opened.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's always a learning process, even as you're
Yeah.
going. I'm sure. I mean, you and I talk
Yeah.
constantly. Like, I'll
Constantly.
be driving, and Travis is like, I have a quick question, and he'll text me, and
Yeah.
and sometimes I can answer the question, sometimes I can't. I got to go find the
Right.
answer. But I mean,
Right.
on how to pay your taxes,
Right.
on how to, not like the physical aspect of paying it, but like how much should I be setting aside
Right.
for my self-employment taxes,
Right.
and how much do I need to, when I set up my sales tax, how to separate that out? What has worked for other clients of yours or for yourself, and things like that. So we've talked about those things. And I think that, going back to the beginning, Travis, like, you didn't really work in retail like you did at your cousin's store.
Right.
You have that charismatic personality. You're a fashionista. You know what people want. You're great.
Yeah.
When you go into Travis's store, he makes everybody feel welcome. He makes everybody feel valued. Sometimes you walk into a store and the owner doesn't pay attention to you, or the worker behind the counter doesn't pay attention to you. And you're like, why am I in here? That's not Travis's vibe at all. You walk in,
Well,
and
I think,
knows your name.
I think that I also looked at other business models that I thought created a vibe that I wanted to create. Now, it's genuinely me. I'm somebody that likes to uplift people and make people feel good because that makes me feel good. But when you go to Disney, right, and you see the characters, they're all in character. And something, I used to work for Johnny Rockets restaurants a long time ago, and I would travel opening stores, training the staff. And one of the things I would always tell them is that your shift, whether it's 4 or 6 hours, whatever it is your time to put away any outside problems and just have fun. This is a place of fun. We're just having fun. You wouldn't go to Disney and see Mickey with his head off. So coming through the doors of my work is really like such a blessing. Like, I've made it such a fun space for myself, and then my customers benefit from that because it's a fun vibe. People they like to just come in, and
chat.
Yeah.
What did
So
you
I
say?
think, Melissa, that's a good jumping off point for what are the characteristics of an entrepreneur versus an employee.
Yes.
And Travis hit on several of them inadvertently, not even knowing he did when he was talking. You have to be a people person if you're going to be in the people business. You have to have creativity. You have to have problem-solving skills. You have to have a passion for what you're doing for all intents and purposes. Those kinds of questions.
And experience.
When you can go to work every day as an employee and have a passion for nothing.
Yes, and also the experience, and that's the point of it too, is taking all of those things you did, Travis, and molding it to what you're doing now. So everything you've done in your life has led up to this point.
I mean, that is completely true, from working for Johnny Rockets to being a waiter for them, but then being a trainer for them. Yeah. Then I was self-employed as a performer, traveling. I was based out of New York City, and I had this show that I did, and I would travel all over doing this show. But in that show, I did everything from the marketing and promotions to booking to the finances to all the creative stuff. So the social media was such a big part of that it's really cool to see how all of my experiences are part of what I'm doing right now. There's the social media, there's interacting with people, there's selling the product, there's marketing the product and promoting it, there's all of these things. So I can't say that I'm 110% perfect at all of it, but I think through my experience, I've touched all of it. So I'm not a stranger to what it means to do it. I
Right.
think also, I don't want to discourage anyone from not following their ideas and their dreams and their passion. It's, so for instance, I'm also a caretaker for my mother. And if it wasn't for my partner, I would have had to have budgeted in on at least one employee from the start, because I have to be able to have time dedicated to helping her get to appointments. And if she needs something on a whim, calling me, being able to go and do that. So I think there are ways, so if I lack somewhere, I know that I can like hire someone to do it, and I just have to budget that in. But you have to know where I hate using the word lack, but where you're lacking maybe a skill.
Yeah.
So that you can better prepare yourself, because that will only make you do better business.
It's that thoroughness before the point of actually opening the doors. And a lot of times when people come in and say, I want to start this business, the first thing they say is, how do I start it? Well, there's not a true and tried, like, how do I start it? Okay, there's the steps. Yes, you get your entity, you get your insurance in place, you get your EIN number, all of the like mechanics of it. But what we're talking about today is all of the soft skills that go into it. So if you feel that, I have this passion, I want to do this, by no means are we saying you shouldn't. We're saying prepare yourself for it.
Right. Yes.
So take the time. The fact that you could go and work, you didn't do retail, you did restaurant and you did show performing.
Right.
You didn't have the actual retail
right.
business part. You took that time and got a job,
yes.
learning from somebody
yes.
who did it, to
yes.
then say, okay, a year into that job,
yes,
I'm going to go start my own. So that's the biggest thing that I think that makes you a better business owner, because you went and did something that had to do with your business. So
yes.
a lot of times, particularly, I'm going to pick on engineers today. A lot of times I'll get engineers and they're like, I developed this product and I want to sell this product and I want to do it for myself and not for the main company. But they're so into the actual development of the product that they're not looking at the whole business part
right.
of it. The marketing, who's your target, the how do you pay your bills, the budgeting. You brought up the making sure that you have the budget for the employee if you didn't have
right.
your partner to help you.
Right.
Those things. It's all of the outside part that really defines the business owner versus the employee. When I talk to an engineer, and again, I'm picking on the engineer because that seems to be a lot of it. It's that narrow focus of, I'm really good at developing this product. It's my brainstorm. It's my invention. Well, that's great. What about the outside part of it? What about getting it out on the market? What about how are you going to pay your bills? How are you selling it? And you brought up a great point. If you lack in that area, you got to develop a team around
right.
you to help do all of that,
right.
Which makes you think about the budgeting part.
And in a small business, as the business owner, like, you're the face of the business. And people come into the store and they want to see me and they want to talk to me. And sometimes I get cornered. Literally, I'll be cornered for an hour with someone who just wants to talk. And
I'm guilty. I go in just to talk to them.
Well, you can do that.
That's the side business of psychological counselor.
It is.
Yeah.
Life coach.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's just preparing yourself, like you're saying. And I knew that going into it because of working for my cousin, and people wanting to come in and talk to her, and her trying to run her business while being pulled in a million directions. And it's just like you're saying, Melissa, preparing yourself. And I think, I consider myself to have a really entrepreneurial spirit, but I didn't go to school for business or anything like that. So I really have to rely on Melissa calling you up, or other friends that have been it, or my cousin, I can call her, or, Melissa helped me put in place a lawyer, a financial, like someone who does the taxes, an accountant. Sorry, thank you.
Okay.
And then from working with a lawyer and accountant, like people that I didn't know I needed, spun off from them. And so I kind of do have this little bit of team that I can reach out to for each thing, to make sure I'm doing it properly, or just to get an opinion like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? You know?
Yeah.
You know, that's the fact of life of a small business. You can't afford to have the whole team, but if you can network appropriately and bring on those other people that you need and have them as confidants when you need somebody to talk to about a specific subject, that's how you build the business. You can't hire all of that talent.
Right.
You know, if you needed an accountant, you're not going to hire an accountant and a lawyer and you just can't do it. So that's the point of it. And the point is, are you a team builder, and can you network well enough to bring on those people to help you? And that's really one of the keys in this whole thing, and sets entrepreneurs apart from employees, clearly.
Yes, absolutely. Because you have to be able to be, I mean, you know, and again, it also goes back to the type of business you have too. So, if you're in retail, you got to have Travis's personality. You just have to. If you are going to be in retail, you can't hide behind the desk, can't hide behind the screen. You can't, you got to get out there. You got to network. Other businesses, however, you have to do some networking. You have to get out in front of people, but it's a different kind, maybe. Like Nate, I'm going to pick on you because you're my buddy and you've been in this for a while now.
That's okay.
Nate, I couldn't see you doing Travis's store, but I have no doubt.
I can shop there.
You can
Please.
definitely shop there. Your wife would love it. And, I could definitely see though, like you're thorough, you're organized, you are well written. So that's your skill set when you're going for your clients. And I can tell you that for a fact, because I've asked Nate to do proposals for me for different things, for marketing, for website designing, for social media, for that digital media. You can tell that that's what he's great at. And it's attention to the detail. And Travis, you have attention to detail too. It's a different kind of attention to detail. So I guess that's another soft skill, is paying attention to what you need to do at the end of the day. And the people that don't do well in business are the people that sit back and say, well, nobody's coming in. I haven't gotten anybody today. I don't know how to reach out to them. Well, you have to be creative. Like Paul said, that's another soft skill, being creative, putting your team together, getting your network together. The marketing part is huge. It's how you market. It's what kind of industry are you in to market. So those are all things that you need to consider. Am I a better employee because I'm really focused on doing my job and only my job? And as an entrepreneur, you have many hats. Everybody's seen that commercial easy button with the entrepreneur. I think it's for Office Max or something. It's hitting the button and then it's also, I think there was another one that was a spinoff of it, that the guy was the same person going from each department. And he's like, you know, good morning, Chuck. Good morning, Chuck. Did you mail that out, Chuck? Did you write that invoice, Chuck? Mark, you're shaking your head. You know which one I'm talking about. I think it's Office Max or something like that. As a small business owner, you are kind of it. So you have to put on the different hats. And if you are a person that can't wear many hats, maybe being an employee is better for you than being the owner of the business.
Well, and I'll say too, I'm not at a point yet where my partner and I are paying ourselves.
Yeah.
So we've been working, and my partner just had his first day off Sunday.
Wow.
I haven't yet had my day off yet, which is hopefully I'm taking one this week. But so we started working full-time on this January, and everything we make, we're putting back into the business right now, putting money aside for taxes and emergency and putting money away for more product. So I also think as a small business, and I don't want to forget details. You talked about details, and I want to say something about that. But I think, you know, when you're starting your business, it's looking at it long term. And I don't like words that are about the negative, but what sacrifices, what adjustments are you making to make the business work so that you benefit in the long run from it. But you talked about attention to detail. And I think I think back to any job I've had and any business I've worked for. And again, it goes back to Johnny Rockets. Their motto, one of their mottos was the success is in the details or something like that. And so I think about what am I doing? What details in my business am I creating that are different, that make people come to me? What is it about my coffee that I'm selling that wants people to come back for it? What is it about my store that people are coming in and they know they're going to find something they like? Rather than going to Target, going to Walmart, ordering on Amazon, you have to think outside the box. And, you know, even if there's a hole in the market for whatever type of business you're talking about, and you're like, well, it'll be great because there's no one else doing this. I think it's about, well, what little details are you offering? I think about Apple. One of the reasons I will spend an exorbitant amount of money on a laptop at Apple is because of the customer service I know I'm going to get while I own that laptop. And they go above and beyond, and they take care of you. So it's about, what are you offering as a business? What are the little details? What are the things that you do for your customer that make them lifelong loyal customers?
You
know,
guys, yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Melissa, Travis, I was hoping Travis would use the word risk, because risk is inherent in the whole entrepreneurial experience. And he was talking about it, but he didn't realize he was talking about it, because he's taking a big risk.
Yeah.
And the big risk is, in his particular case, and in the particular case of any retail, have I gauged the market correctly? Do I really understand that there's a market for this product? And I'm bringing all this stuff in here and I'm selling this stuff, but does anybody really want it? There's a big risk inherent in almost every entrepreneurial experience, because if you haven't done your customer discovery properly, and you don't know who your customers are going to be with any degree of certainty, the risk gets higher and higher. So it's really important to understand that aspect too of who in the world is your customer, and is that customer going to be satisfied with what I'm offering? And this is in a retail sense, but it's true in a service sense as well.
Yeah.
Is there a need for this particular service? I can't tell you how many people that we see, and Melissa will confirm this, who say, I want to start this kind of a business. And then first question we ask is, do you know of anybody who said they would like you to furnish that kind of a business or that kind of a service? Have you talked to anybody that said they would like that kind? So the entrepreneurial experience is entirely different than the employee experience from the risk standpoint.
Yeah.
Well, and this is a good segue into something you just mentioned about not being paid. So I know what's happening financially with you. Those of you who don't, that's going to be like, you maybe are being like, whoa, how's this guy living? How are he and his partner living? Well, there's something that you guys did. You went to your partner's salary. Your partner has another business. He's self-employed too. So you moved your personal expenses, you figured it out, you cut them down, you rearrange them, and you figured out what can you live off of that he can pay with his already established going business.
Right.
Which is different than the retail spot. It's different than the retail business. So it's a service business, but it's different. So you guys rearranged your life. So you're living off of his salary that he's able to work on regardless. He works remote, all that kind of stuff. One big question I have from clients, and Paul, you probably get this question too. When do you know it's time to go? How do I know that I can take that leap? And the first thing I say is look at your personal financials. You have to look at your personal financials. What can you do without? What can you rearrange so that you can live off of just your spouse or your partner's salary? Now, say you're a single person and you don't have that other income to live off of. what can you do with your savings? One of my clients saved up, her salary was $50,000 as an employee, $50,000 a year. For 3 years, I worked with her on her business plan and her projections. Her startup cost to start her own business, doing what she was doing for the other employer, was $3,000. Not a big startup cost. $3,000 is not much at all. What took her 3 years was she saved 1 year's salary. She squirreled away $50,000, put it aside for her 1 year to live off of while she started this business. Now, her business is a service business. So there's no product. She doesn't have to buy inventory. The expenses of running the business are very, very minimal. But that was what she did. She looked at her personal stuff and said, I need $50,000 to live off of. If I don't get a paycheck for 1 year, I have it saved up. Now, that wasn't the case. Then immediately when she started running her business, within a few months, she started having income coming in. So she never really had to use the 50,000. It just was there as the cushion because she kept having, her business was set that the money was coming in. Sort of like Nate's, I would imagine. It's a service industry. You're paid on the on demand, basically. Like you complete the project, you get paid. That was that's her business. I will say this. She did end up using the 50,000 during pandemic because the business she was in went flat. She could not operate. It was a travel industry business. It was done. She was done. So that 50,000 that I've been in this position for 8 years. She was one of my very first clients. 3 years. So 5 years ago, for 3 years, I worked with her on the transition. When is it time to go? Doing the research, finding the right moment, which by the way, there's never a right moment. And she'll tell you that there's absolutely never a right moment to leave because, she had to basically go without a paycheck for a period of time. She didn't have to use that 50,000 during that year 4 that I worked with her. She didn't have to use it last year, 2020. She used it. She had to use every penny of it because her industry was shut down. So now she's in a different, pivoting, trying to figure out what to do differently. And she's got income coming back in, but she had that $50,000 set aside. Now that's unusual. Most business owners will not have that going 4 or 5 years into owning their business. But my point is, that was her big thing going forward. Before she left her job, her paycheck, she had to have that $50,000 salary sitting aside in her bank account.
So that brings to mind 2 other words.
Yeah.
Self-confidence.
Yes.
And determination.
Yes.
She was determined to get it done. And she in fact took that step to I mean, the discipline that's involved in what she did. Yeah. And what she went without to save $50,000 is incredible on $50,000 salary. So
Melissa, can I hop in real quick?
Absolutely.
I have this so it's funny that where this comes from, because I think I misunderstood what this talk was about when I read it because of where I am, right? So, are you an entrepreneur or an employee? I find when I meet business owners, a lot of times they say, well, I want to start my own business because I want to make more money, which we all know is not a good reason to do it, right?
Right.
I don't want to work for somebody else, which we know is also, we just work for more people as business owners, right? We work for our employees, but we have more people we answer to, so you really just have to like what you do. Like, do I like this enough to bring on, all the things Paul brought up, all the things you brought up, to bring on all this additional stress, or do I want to be a rock and roll waiter? I could literally be the best Johnny Rockets waiter in the world. Would I want to run a Johnny Rockets? Hell no. Right. So, but when I read it as, kind of where I think Travis and I are, and I think this could be a really interesting additional topic some other day. Yeah. I run my business, but I'm an employee. Like, I'm the face of my business and I do everything. So I'm one of those people who handcuff myself into a new job as a business owner, right? Where some people say, well, now the next step for that is to remove yourself from different places, which I would imagine for Travis, just like me, is very difficult, because people go to Travis's store where I've been, it's awesome, where,
Thanks.
I mean, like they want to see him, they want that energy, and to get him to duplicate himself into more people who can provide that. Like, that's where that leadership training and all that other stuff comes in. And it's really, we've talked about how hard it is to find employees at all, let alone one that will exude that much enthusiasm and energy that Travis has. So, I mean, I think that would be a really neat topic that I'd be interested in someday.
That's a great point. We could definitely do that in the future for sure.
People talk about how they're having a hard time finding employees, and not to discredit anyone's experience.
Mhm.
But we have people come in all the time asking if they can work for us. And I think it's about the vibe you're creating. So I really have to, and I think I get this as a performer too, no matter what was going on in my life, if I had a show, I needed to put that crap aside and get out there and make sure that the people in the audience were having a great time. And so, we literally have in our store, when we walk into the back, like a little stage that comes out, and there's like a curtain and everything that just coincidentally is there to come out from the back.
It's awesome, by the way.
Yeah. And there's a lot of times where I'll come out, we're not open yet, but I come through the back and I'm like, all right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. And so like, I have to hype myself up and like put everything aside and create that vibe. And in creating that vibe, we're finding people that are excited about it and want to partake in one way or another, whether it's being an employee or like, we in the beginning had on our vision board of doing a craft beer and wine fridge, but the licensing for us was a little bit too much to handle. Some guy who shops at our store is like, hey, you ever thought about having craft beer or wine or anything? We're like, yeah. He's like, well, I do that licensing for a living and I'd love to help you with that free of charge. I just want you guys to be successful. So like, I think if you're putting out different and unique and positive energy, that's something that people are craving. They crave that, even in the best of times. And right now we're in this time where people want to get out and they want to feel good and they're sick of the division and fighting and they just want to feel a positive, love, warm, fun vibe. And if you can create that in your business, to me, that's literally the heart of any business. Do my employees want to come to work? Do I want to go to work? Why do customers want to walk in my door? It's because of the experience I'm creating and the environment I'm creating. And in selecting employees, you're exactly right when you're saying duplicating myself. I'm like, does this person have energy that may not be my energy, but Melissa and I have a mutual friend, Star, who has started to work.
I was totally just thinking of her.
Yeah. She has like Goldie Hawn energy is what I say.
Yes.
And she's like perfect. She's not me, but she has this bright, positive, fun energy. And so the employees are out there and people are talking about how it's hard to find employees. Again, I don't want to discredit anyone's experience, but I do believe if you are creating a positive environment, not only are you going to get people that want to be part of your team and uplift your team and work for you, but you're also going to get those clients and customers that are like, I want to buy into this. I want this. I want this and I want to have it with me, bring it home with me. So yeah.
I think, and I want to open it up. We've got 10 more minutes left. So I want to open it up to you all to ask questions to Travis as well. But just to reiterate, it's not that, I think right now a lot of people don't want to go back to an office. They don't want to go and work in an industry that they maybe didn't feel great in pre-pandemic. They just did it because it was a job. And then during the pandemic, they realized this isn't really what I want in life. And we're not saying you shouldn't consider being a small business owner. Like, that's why Paul and I are here. We just think you need to look at the whole big picture, because if where you're at right now doesn't fit with your life, but you're not really suited to be a business owner, find a company like Travis's, find a company like Mark's, find a company like Nate's, find something that like where Charles is, where you feel valued, you're doing what you love, and you can be the best damn employee that they've ever had and that industry's ever seen, and do it well. Because, just that's the biggest difference, is that I think when we have people coming in and they're like, well, I just don't want to go back to the office. I want to make more money. Like Mark said, I want my own autonomy. I want my, I don't want to have to answer to anybody. Don't think that way, because those are not the reasons to go into small business. You are probably not going to make any money to begin with. You're probably going to have more bosses than you've ever had in your life. You are going to be more tired than you ever have. Travis hasn't had a day off since January 2021. I mean, that's almost a year. It's just, so think about all of those things. So I want to open it up. Lee, do you have any questions? I know you're talking about starting this salon, and do you have any questions for Travis? Anybody else?
What I heard is very helpful, kind of helped me put what I'm thinking in place, and also, give me some thoughts about what I need to consider before my business is open. So that's very helpful. You guys scare me a little bit here, because like I'm first time.
Lee,
No,
you should.
I kind of knew what to expect, but I had this different visions, for myself.
Well, Lee,
so.
Lee, I think in a salon, I also work with makeup and skincare, and so I'm in that world a little bit. I would say to you, really think about why. I mean, there's so many salons. So
Right.
So why my salon? Why mine? Why is mine going to be the one that people come to? And I think it has to be more than just we give great haircuts and we do great colors.
Right.
What experience are you going to give people? That I think will be key in that.
Thank you. Yes, I already have those things in mind, but then sometimes things that you think, but it's not quite doable yet when you put into practice. So okay, what's the other options that is similar to that? So
Yep.
Definitely trying to put in my employer hat on
Mm-hmm.
from being an employee.
Well, and that's another thing to think about. Do you want to be an employer, or do you want to just be by yourself? There's many salons that they are just the only person running their operation extremely well, thoroughly, all that kind of stuff. There's others that have 10 people that work in their spot. They maybe they're employees, or maybe they rent a chair. You have to figure out what is it, your vision for the whole thing as at the end result? What is it that you want? And there's no right or wrong answer. It's what you want. I always go back to, you can make $30,000 a year but have zero expenses and live high on the hog, as far as you're the richest person in your world. Or you can make $300,000, but your expenses are $299,000, and you really are bringing only $1,000 home.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of think about what makes sense for me. What is it that I want overall? Does Bob, Devin, Charles, do you guys have any questions for Travis? Please feel free.
This is Sule. I just have one question, actually, and it's for Travis, and it's based on what Mr. Paul Brooks was talking about earlier. As far as the risk, how do you know if you have so many ideas, how do you know how to corral those ideas and guide them, and when to grow and when to expand on the next step?
So I am a big ideas person, and a lot of times I throw out all these ideas, and it's all great, we're going to make it all happen, and then I go, holy, how am I going to do this? So I have really learned, especially since opening the business, it's great to come up with all those ideas, and I kind of list them all out. And then I'm like, what is the one that I can really focus on, that I think is going to benefit me the most, and then expand from there. I think for me, in my experience, everything has been lining up for me really well. And that's because, number one, I think I had that extra time, and I went, okay, this is going to happen or it's not going to happen. It wasn't like, oh my God, I have to do this. I was like, all right, I'm going to show up, I'm going to go on the journey, and it'll roll out the way that it's supposed to. And as long as it feels good to me, I'm going to keep on the journey. So that's kind of my barometer, is like, does this feel like, sure, there's the financial stuff and all that, but is this bringing me joy? Does this feel right? Does this feel good? And again, I'm an ideas man. So I have all of these ideas that will be about one thing. Okay, we're getting into Christmas. What stuff are we going to carry? Okay, this and this and this and this and this custom item, and I'm going to design this and who, and all this stuff. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, I got to focus here. And so I don't want to say not to have the ideas, because it's better to have all the ideas than not. And then just moving on the one that feels the best. What's bringing me the most joy, and what do I think my customer is going to like, and margins is really important to me. And what do I think is going to sell? Am I answering your question? Can I be more specific for you?
Well, how do you corral? So it's just on what's going to sell is your final.
It's not, no. First of all, I have to love the product, because if I don't love it, I can't say to people, this is great, you have to take it home. So it's the
not just, I don't mean to cut you off, not just the products that you carry in your store, but the ideas for your business. Let's say now you want to go and you have an idea to do this or expand, or incorporate another partner. Like, how do you, like, I have a lot of ideas as far as the pace and where I want my business to be in the next 5 years. And it comes every night. I get a new idea, and it's like, wow, this is great. And sometimes I feel overwhelmed with the next step and what's the best step next,
Yeah. So I'm glad you're asking that, because I'm in a situation right now where we're looking at possibly expanding. And the way I'm handling that is the way that I handled opening the business. I'm going to show up to everything, whatever that may be. I'm meeting with Melissa, the bank, whatever it may be, and I'm just going to see where it goes. If at any point, and also your 5-year plan, right? Just forget about it, because here's why. What I have learned from day one when we started working with Melissa is that all the ideas and thoughts that I had about how it was going to roll out and how it was going to be, out the window. It doesn't work like that. And that's another big thing that we didn't really touch on here. As a business owner, you have to be like a sail in the wind, ready to kind of go with wherever it's pushing you. So I would tell you, if you're feeling overwhelmed, take a deep breath, pick something that feels good, but scale it way back. And you'll know when it's time, because it will just feel right. Like right now, I know this expansion that we're doing, I can't do it right now. Right now would not be a good time. When do I think would be a good time? After the holiday. Okay, so I'm on the journey right now with talking with different people and getting it in motion, but I'm not putting a lot of effort into it as far as making it happen. I'm kind of like, all right, I got to talk to the bank, because maybe we're going to have to take out another loan. And I'm talking with Melissa, because what does that mean for X, Y, and Z? And I'm talking to the landlord, because it involves expanding the space into their space next door, but I'm not making any moves. And in January, when the holidays are over and our busy season's over, I'm going to see where I'm at with that, and we'll see. And this is where I think it's really important to be the employee to yourself and do all of the research and the work and research, because it will inform you. The more time you have, the more, and I don't even like to say research, because that feels like, who wants to do research? Like, ugh. But like, the more exploring that you do, you're going to guide yourself. You're just going to, I hate to say you're just going to know, but that's just been my experience. It just was like, okay, this is it now, and this is today, and this feels right, and we're going to move forward.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, because when I started my business years ago, I just knew it was right. I knew that it was something that I could provide a great service doing, that the products I had were good products, that the area needed it, and I knew I could provide that well.
That's not to say there's not trepidation of
right,
like,
of
oh God, I'm signing a loan. Oh God, okay, I'm signing a lease. Oh, okay. But the business idea as a whole, or whatever the expansion is, the positive vibe I'm getting from that outweighs the trepidation. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think too, like one of the things maybe you're thinking too, is that you say you have all these ideas, and I hear that a lot with my clients. They'll come in and say, like, I could do a restaurant, I could do a babysitting business, I could do a house painting business, I could do, and that's great that you can do all those things, but you're one person. It goes back to being the jack of all trades or being the master of none. what can you be the master of? Because that's really going to show that you're successful, is that you're very passionate about one thing.
And that doesn't mean you can't evolve. So when we opened our store, we probably had a third of the product that we have in there right now. And we just, because we're putting all the money back into the business, we're able to expand. And now we're so full that in addition to having to order more shelving and racks and all that, we're having to keep stuff in the back until stuff sells. So there's always room and there's always time for expansion and evolving. Like you'll always be doing that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I say just go with what feels good. Your gut will tell you, your intuition will tell you, and it will outweigh any trepidation that you feel.
Okay, thank you. How far are you guys? Because I'm from Brooklyn. I'm in Brooklyn.
Oh,
How
hey,
far?
I have a place in Astoria. How are you?
Okay. I'm not too far. Actually, I'm in Greenpoint,
Oh, nice. We're
How-
upstate
how-
outside of Syracuse.
outside of Syracuse.
Yeah.
Okay. To be honest, I couldn't tell you how far Syracuse is.
So,
Was it 4 hours?
yeah,
I'm
4 or 5
sorry.
hours by drive. Yeah.
Oh, 5. That's not bad. 5
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah.
I would like to come and check out the store if that's possible, man.
Yeah, I would love that.
What's the
Melissa, are
address?
you in contact with Melissa, or can you?
I don't.
My store is, you can find me on Instagram, H Gray, Grey,
Uh-huh.
Supply Co. is the name, H Gray Supply Co.
I
And
stalked
just
you
feel
down
free
on
to shoot me a
Facebook too,
message.
Trav, so. Facebook.
Oh yeah, Facebook too.
Instagram, yeah.
Yeah.
Charles, do you have any
So
questions too?
Yeah, just a couple for you. So, with this company, and I'd love the entrepreneur talks, like, what's up, if there's more of these, I'd want to be on because I love the energy here too. So I understand, I know you guys do business plans, you do strategic, do you do research and such, but do you have companies when they're expanding to like strategic planning as well there? Okay.
Absolutely.
All
Yeah.
right,
and-
I'll reach out to you then and I'll kind
Yeah.
of give you an idea what we're doing and where we're headed.
Awesome. And Paul,
Thanks.
is awesome too on that stuff too. So
Awesome. Appreciate it. Yeah, Score is just great. Or, yeah, Score and SBDC, like everything. Chamber, love that world. Travis, need to know from you, man. What's your mantra? What do you wake up with every day that keeps you going? That keeps you
choose happy, choosing happy.
choose happiness.
I'm a
Love it.
big student of the law of attraction.
Yep.
And the basis of that is just the only thing we have control over in life is our own emotions. And we can always choose to think a better feeling thought. So that's what I do is I wake up and I love my bed. And
I love
I'm like,
it.
it's going to be a great day. And here we go. Let's do it.
If you don't mind, I'll just share something with you real quick. So this is, I brought the book, Tich Not Han in Your Home. So it's daily readings. And today's reading is beginning the day. Every 24-hour day is a tremendous gift to us. So we all should learn to live in a way that makes joy and happiness possible. We can do this. I begin my day by making an offering of incense while following my breath. I think to myself that this day is a day to live fully, and I make the vow to live each moment of it in a way that is beautiful, solid, and free. This only takes me 3 or 4 minutes, but it gives me a great deal of pleasure. You can do the same thing when you wake up. Breathe in, tell yourself that a new day has been offered to you, and you have to be here to live it. So it's like these daily readings. I love that book again, Tich Not Han. And yeah, Travis, thanks for inspiring us.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good stuff.
And feel free, anyone, to reach out to me at any point ever, on social media or whatever. I'm happy to. I am not an expert, but I have my experience and I'm happy to share that with you and all that.
Thank you
love
so
primary
much.
data. People that are in it and living it and breathing it. I mean, that's where it comes from. That's where you're going to learn the most. Hey, Bob, I don't know if you have the option to speak or not on your device, but if you have any questions, feel free. You can put them in the chat, or you can unclick mute, whatever.
And I also want to say, Melissa and Paul, that literally I had zero understanding or idea of what to do to start a business, the mechanics of it, any of that, right? And I really have to thank you guys and SBDC because it has really helped guide us, guide my business. And it's made me feel so much more secure. You know, we talk about the trepidation and the risk and all that. And having you guys as a resource as somebody I can call upon, who may not always have the answer, but is there to encourage and support, really helps diminish the feeling of risk. So that has been, you guys have been a huge part in what we're doing. So thank you very much.
Oh, we love having you there. So Bob, we actually do, Bob's question, I don't know if everybody can see it, is he doesn't have any questions specifically, but he said that the group should get together for issues of brainstorming. So we actually do this virtual coffee talk once a month. And all for full disclosure, I'm actually going to be leaving and heading to a new position in Madison County. But I'm hoping that advisors here stay going with this. I've been doing it. Oh gosh, how long have I been doing it now, Paul? It's been
Long time.
It's been almost a year probably. But I love these. I love the virtual talks. We've done numerous ones. Last time we did it on restaurant industry. In the past, we've done it on mental health, which, Charles, some of your inspirational things that you were reading, and what the mantra that Travis has, we had this amazing therapist come on and do it on, as an entrepreneur, like, how do you balance your mental health as an entrepreneur? And she gave us great helpful tips. And one of the things that she said in the morning was, every morning she wakes up and she does 10 minutes of silence, like meditation. And it's just, she just would do her breathing and her relaxation and take stock of the moment that she was in, to just have that time before her day gets crazy. So I'm hoping that we continue to keep doing these talks with SBDC. I am going to be working at in Madison County with the agricultural sector of industries, and but I'll still be in touch with SBDC. I'm not gonna ever let them out of my sight because I love them dearly. And I was a client. I started my business in 2007, and before I started my business, which I sold in 2011. I worked with, or 2012, I sold it. I worked with our now director, Joan Powers, and I asked the same questions. I felt the same fears and, worried about, is it the time to start? Could I go? Is this right? Is this not right? So it was awesome. But, happy to be a part of this all. And I maybe we can nudge Paul to do this every month and make him do it from here on out. Paul's going to be taking over my Cazenovia area. So, but honestly, Bob, please look at our website and look at our YouTube channel, because we've posted some of these talks on there. So you can definitely get more. And that would be, that's awesome. Any other questions for anybody here?
Nice job.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Travis.
Thank you so much.
for
Thank you so
sharing,
much.
Travis.
Yeah, good luck to everybody, and just get it done. Just
I
do
know,
it.
it's such an exciting time. And I think that's the one thing we can say from pandemic is we learned so much about ourselves and what our wants and needs are. And we can translate that into being better, productive members of society and provide that to other people. So super happy to have you all on. Thank you again, Travis. And this is recorded, so I will have Regina post it. So if you ever want to go back and any things that Travis said that or that Paul said or I said, and you're like, wait a minute, I want to go back to that, it will be up on our YouTube channel and our Facebook and our website and things like that. So thank you so much. It was so great to see you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a
guys.
great
Bye-bye.
rest of your day.
Everyone be well. Bye-bye.
Bye.